Okay, good morning, everybody. We storytelling and sewing. Anywho, yeah, so I have a video uploading right now. I'm talking about the Alabama 6 and my very distanted affiliation with the people that were involved with that. And along with that, brought back a flood of friggin' memories with my daughter. Now, I don't know where this is going to go, and I may end up stitching it because I had to stitch the other one because I kept calling it the Tennessee 6. What the fuck is wrong with me? I lived there when this happened, right? It's like I live in Tennessee now, but I don't. Lord help me. Anyway, Alabama 6. It's fascinating. It's almost kind of heartbreaking. It's very fucking heartbreaking because I'm wondering what happened to the little girl. Is she, married? She's got kids? Is she, did she go to college? I wonder, how things turned out for her, right? And yeah, it's just heartbreaking to lose your mama in that way. It's hard enough, to think back on, all the little mistakes I made and, having to send my daughter to go live with my sister, who had essentially ended up raising her until she graduated college and got married and whatnot. But to lose your mother entirely, I can't emotionally fathom, what kind of, how that feels. It's heartbreaking, nonetheless. It's just, but the memories of, my birth and leading up to that kind of came in along with that. So one of the small issues that, I had with choosing a daycare provider was somebody I could entrust with the looming concern of what was going on with my daughter after I gave birth, because I was 5 weeks premature giving birth to her. She was very tiny, very, very tiny. Not extremely tiny. There's other babies that are born at like 2 pounds and they survive. And my baby was, she was 6'9" when she was born, and we left the hospital at 5'13". So here's the trauma that I experienced while I'm sewing this. I'll just keep talking and I can get this crap done. But yeah, you want to talk about medical gaslighting, because my interests are all over the place, so this kind of ties in to it. So here we go. So my water broke at about 11 o'clock at night after I had gone to math or English. Can't remember which one I was taking that day. And I was laying down and my back was aching and I could not get comfortable, and I kept, I would cough or, move a certain way, and it felt like I had like incontinence kind of thing. So I went to the bathroom, and it didn't feel like my bladder was like active, but liquid was coming out, right? So sorry if this is like a little bit uncandid, what have you. But it was, I had no idea what I was looking for. I had prenatal, I had physician care, but I didn't have time for Lamaze. I was going to college. I was in the military and attending college at the same time. kind of thing. And I had a very full life going on. Where was my daughter's father? He was in Fort Benning doing whatever it is that he did. We had been together 4 years. When I gave birth to her, he was kind of a shit turd when he found out I was pregnant. And when she was about 2 months old, before I even got back to work, before my maternity leave was over, I basically said, peace out, fucker. So, yeah, you're useless as tits on a boar hog, and I don't need you coming here being a piece of fucking furniture. You know, I was literally doing all of his friggin' college homework. He wasn't doing shit. He pitched in for the crib. And when she was about a year old, before I left to get out of the military, he brought her a couple outfits because he hadn't seen her since she was 2 months old. Had no idea how she had, fared. Anyway, about 3 days after I gave birth, my mother was helping me, visiting me, helping me, with newborn and whatnot, because he was fucking missing, in action. Never, had no fucking involvement, hardly at all. He tried. My sister tried to get him involved, but, he still alienated her after she was about 8 years old. Which, my sister had said, yeah, we haven't heard from him. I was like, yeah, are you surprised? She was like, what do you mean? I've tried to keep in touch. And I was like, that's why I didn't fucking bother. Because I knew he was going to do something like this. He did it to his son. Whom my daughter and her half-brother are just adorable together. And and his mom is a very nice lady. Not, of course, this is, what you get when you're involved with a narcissist. He wasn't a covert narcissist. He wasn't like, oh, woe is me, she cheated on me and all this other stuff. It's just, he basically said we were incompatible. No, she had her shit together, and, she was thinking that y'all were something, and it turns out that when she got pregnant, he didn't want nothing to do with her. Half brother's mom kind of thing. So anyway, my daughter's born. She's very, very tiny. And I've got a lot on my plate. And my mom is there to help me. And my mom said, I don't like her color. My mom worked neonatal forever. And she said, I don't like her color. She looks ruddy. And I was like, well, my opinion, I think she looks Oompa Loompa orange. I don't know if she just got a really good tan or, what's going on, right? My mom's like, I don't like this. She's very, she's lethargic. For a newborn, she just, something's off. My mom's, own personal expertise saying, having worked in that environment for years and years and years, she had a feeling. Well, her feeling was right. My perceptions of everything were right. And my daughter looked generically ruddy. Like Oompa Loompa orange. Ruddy. So we brought her to the emergency room, and the doctor who was on call was actually a pediatrician, of some degree, I guess. And his name was removed from the employee list a month after this incident. Oh yeah, bad. Anywho, so we go to the emergency room, and the nurse that is on the desk there, she takes a look at my daughter, and she was like, I need to call the doctor that is, you know, on call, pediatrician on call, and determine what, you know, what he wants to do. Because, but my personal opinion, this baby needs to be admitted into the NICU right now. Right? So the nurse was aware. So he did not admit my daughter into the NICU that night. He made us come back on Monday morning. Consequently, while I was breastfeeding her, waiting for the pediatrician to come in for our appointment, because we were in the treatment room, right? My daughter stopped suckling and stopped breathing on her own. She was that lethargic. Her body was so full of bilirubin and she was so jaundiced. But this pediatrician that was on call at the ER that night, it was like I think it was a Saturday night is when we came in. It was like we were monitoring her through the week. So I had given, I think it was a Thursday. And my mother got there you know, I went into labor on Wednesday night. I might be a day off because I can't remember that far back. But I went into labor late at night, called my mom, the friend called my mom. My mom got on the road. She drove from Colorado all the way to Alabama, and she was there 24 hours later. So it was like a Thursday afternoon is when my mother showed up. You know. Yeah, that's how it worked. My mother actually, I think, got there before my daughter's father did. He was 2 hours away. Yeah, real piece of work, that one. Anyway, so yeah, he'll have to, you know, on his judgment day, he's fucked. So anyway, my mom gets there and we have the baby home less than 3 days. Seriously. And she gets to my apartment. The dad, no, he got there first. Matter of hours. He was at my apartment because he had a key. And my mom showed up and he was, you know, that next morning while I was in the hospital and he was staying there. I remember my mom telling me the story about how, you know, he got up and made himself breakfast and didn't even offer to make her anything. You know, after she just drove 30-something fucking hours to get there, right? And my mom's sense of direction gets really, really squirrely when she gets tired. So I was a nervous wreck. Here, I'm giving birth, and baby's delivered. Now I'm worried, is my mom going to make it there and not get lost? You know? Holy Mother of God. Anyway. Yeah. So, the point being is, you know, yeah, her dad was a piece of shit and he was absolutely no help. And my mom was there and it wasn't a couple of days and we ended up going to the emergency room because my daughter just looked funny, and my mom was a nurse and she understood. She knew there's something was wrong. Anyway, Monday, baby stopped breathing on her own, and, you know, whole shitstorm of drama occurred at that pediatric clinic. And mom screaming and cussing, you know, that's not a normal thing. Well, it was when we were growing up, but then she found Jesus and it changed. But yeah, this time Jesus went out the friggin' window and mom was cussing the F word. Screaming, somebody get the fuck in here. Yeah, she went off. Go ma. Anyway, yeah, she's got a very frightening voice. Mine isn't very nice either when we get mad. Anyway, bark is worse than the bite. So, she'd been doing CPR on my daughter while I tried to locate the fucking pediatrician who was in his office, God doing fucking knows what. Anyway, he lifted up the baby gasped. He immediately took the baby, and I followed the doc, and we went, and he admitted the baby into the into the NICU. Like, appointment was literally trauma-induced decision. Yeah, because my daughter decided to stop breathing while I was breastfeeding her. So we spent a few days in the NICU while my daughter was under the bilirubin lights. And we have pictures of that. I probably ought to dig them out and kind of stitch them into this. Anyway, so I then got the NICU had suggested getting an apnea monitor for her. So I had one of these things. Holy mother of God. That alarm on that thing can wake the dead. So I used the apnea monitor from the time she got home, after we got out of the NICU, got home, and back into, attempt to being normal. But I had to attach these little, the little diode things, like what you put on a TENS unit type of thing. I had to attach all these to her before she went to bed at night. And little babies, they do move around. Not a lot, but they do. And if they wiggle one of those damn diodes loose, the world is awake. Because that thing was screaming. You think your basic fire alarm, for, in your house is loud? Oh. Yeah. I think it woke up my entire quadplex at the apartment I was in. Anyway, yeah, it was fucking loud, dude. So I had that on her, and I used that for about 4 or 5 months. So my daycare provider at that time was aware that she was going to need to be on this while she was sleeping. Okay? I was like, I am so, I just want to make it clear that, I'm concerned about it going off, not because she stopped breathing, but because one of those things gets loose. She was like, she'll be okay. We have a private room for our infants. I said, hopefully it'll muffle the noise. She's like, is it that loud? I said, it is that loud. God help us. Anyway, so that was part of the reason why she was very nervous about the baby coming without her there, was because of this apnea monitor. So my daughter had to wait a week until this woman got back from her vacation before she felt comfortable enough. She just ethically, it was best that she, just let her assistant have the one baby whose mom had come up missing, kind of thing, as opposed to dealing with 2 babies. Even if my daughter was alone, I think, Miss Mary would have been able to take care of that, rationally understanding that, as long as the baby is cooing and doing whatever, she's fine. It's just one of her diodes, had come loose. So, anyway, that memory got spawned by this, sewing project. Yeah. This is human stuff. People, this is what happens. This is what, things happen in your life, and, it triggers memories. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, but yeah, everything is kind of interconnected. So, oh, come on. I can't connect you. You're uneven. Yeah. Well, not surprised. They're homemade. So well. Anyway, we're going to get this one put together. So yeah, my mom had called me and asked, is there anything you need help with? Nope, I'm good. You need me to come clean? I was like, nah, I changed my mind. Yeah, not this week. It looks like a seamstress shop in here, and it's just kind of worse than it's ever been. Anyway, I just want to get this done and not have to worry about shit shuffling too much to accommodate her being able to clean. So, anyway. Where are you, foot? There we go. But yeah, it's kind of disappointing. You know, everybody runs into, you know, the little girl that had, you know, gone missing. She was a single mom, you know. And the baby ended up getting awarded, you know, ward of the court, you know, guardianship from the aunt that had registered her with the daycare, you know. And yeah, that was a goings on. And yeah, I wonder how everything turned out with that little girl. If she had been kept in that daycare till she was, you know, a teen or whatever, I think she'd turn out pretty good. This woman was just awesome. She had my kid 11 hours every day. I'd bring her over there at like 5:30 in the morning. I'd have to go to PT, and then I'd go to PT, rush home quick, change, get showered, changed, and go do my job until about, you know, 4:30, 5 o'clock, and then go to school. I'd go get her. I'd go get the baby in between classes and whatnot. Some days I'd have to go to class first and then go get her. And I had, when I was at class, you know, I had a buddy of mine that was in my, you know, work area. He would come over and just kind of hang out, watch TV, and, you know, hang with her. I had another soldier, yeah, she was a flake. We only had her do it once. And yeah, she did it again. Anyway, neighbors behind me, they absolutely loved my kid. They watched her all the time. Just, they were retired, living in an apartment. They didn't care. They were just like, yeah, bring her whenever. So I had a good network, and I had, you know, good people around me. And because of the abuse that her father had, you know, probably not intentionally done, not realizing that he was a neglectful, you know, narcissist who, you know, self-centered piece of shit that he was, kind of wrecked my head a little bit, you know, thinking we were together 3 years and had an engagement ring and everything, and when I told him I was pregnant, he told me I was trapping him. What the fuck am I wearing a ring for? Right? It's trapping you? What the fuck, dude? Anyway, so yeah, dealt with the trauma. So yeah, it's kind of like a mingling of all situations. Kind of, you know, experienced almost losing my daughter when she was 2 or 3 days old. You know, having to live in a hospital for 4 days with, you know, at the NICU. You know, that kind of crap. Yeah, I've had a lot of shit affect me and my perceptions of, you know, been there, done that, seen that, don't want to happen again kind of crap. You know, and then of course on top of that, dealing with the biological sperm donor being a complete douchebag. Yeah, add it all up. Yeah, I think I've done pretty good considering. Yeah, I almost lost my mind on the last one, but you know what? Yeah, you snap out of it. You get therapy. You do self-care. You figure it out. You know, No, my house isn't immaculate. It doesn't look like Better Homes and Gardens in here, but you know what? Who gives a shit? I'm the only one who sees it, and my mother tries to come and help me a little bit, you know. But yeah, and I appreciate it wholeheartedly. But you know, you get the idea. You know, a little bit of help I get, I pay for it. You know, even if it is my mother. But I'm not gonna let her do it for free. She's 79 years old. She's gonna be 80 here soon. A few months. Anyway, so hope everybody's having a great 4th of July. But this is the second part of that. You know, the Alabama 6. Yeah. Sewing, Alabama 6, and nearly losing my daughter when she was a few days old. Yeah. But yet again, you know, even after she was, you know, 2.5, 3, nobody really questioned how I was feeling. I suffered from postpartum so bad, just trying to hold it together, that by the time she was about 2 years old, I snapped. My brain couldn't take it anymore. My heart couldn't take it anymore. Nobody gave a fuck about how I was doing. Everybody, I must have hid it well, because nobody even had it, you know, an inkling to say, hey, we need to get you checked. Yeah, let's see, you know, any kind of compassionate sense. Nothing. Yep, I was just going through the motions, hanging on by a thread. So here we are. Me expecting a grandchild from the baby I almost lost. This it was like all these memories coming back. So anyway, y'all take care. Thanks for watching. Peace.